Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had so many questions. How do I record an episode? Where do I find background music? How do I get my show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other places people like to listen? Where do I find advertisers? The answer to every one of those questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, distributing, and monetizing your podcast. And best of all, it's 100% free and 100% ridiculously easy to use. Let me tell y'all. Everybody keeps asking me, what do I do to podcast? I'm telling you, the answer is Anchor. They created my RSS feed. They gave me my first 2 sponsors that you're now hearing on this podcast. I want you to know that I believe in Anchor. I've grown with this platform since February, and I'm going to continuously grow with this platform. So if you always wanted to start a podcast, go to anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 7th podcast on the Walk by Faith show. And with me as your host, the Pretty Plug, by now, we have gained some great momentum, and our weekly guests just keep getting better and better. For today's show, I have been so inspired by her nonprofit organization, Unapologetic Inc. I'm so happy to be the first person to tell the full story and life of none other than Miss Kristen Wells-Lewis. She is an alum of Prairie View A&M University, has held multiple leadership positions within Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, a conference guru. She specializes in all things natural. She works a 9 to 5, but she's balancing having a fruitful relationship with her boyfriend and God, while she's still finding time to give back to her community. When I tell you that was a mouthful, y'all, that was a mouthful, okay? But on today, I just have one favor to ask from the Walk by Faith family. There is no way that I can give you a 20 to 30-minute podcast on Kristen. Her content and accolades will really touch your life, and I intend to tell her story the right way. Think about it like this. If you can watch Scandal for an hour, you can listen to information that will teach you exactly how to live an unapologetic lifestyle and continue to evolve. So, Kristen, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. I definitely appreciate it.
You're welcome. So can you please introduce yourself to the Walk by Faith family?
So I think I've said a lot about who I am. I am Kristen Wells-Lewis, a young adult, recent graduate of Prairie View A&M University, and I like to consider myself basically an advocate for the female community through all of my work in different platforms and different varieties, and it may look different on different days, but in each day my mission stays the same, and that's helping align women's passion with their purpose. And I say women because I like to focus on a specific niche of where I think I can really contribute my time and experience to, but it's really for everybody. In everything that I do, I try to make sure that I'm really touching people in some sort of way and being purposeful in everything that I do as well. So I think that kind of describes me. I am a business owner. I am a founder of a nonprofit organization, and I am the second oldest of 5. And yeah, I'm excited to be here today.
Yes, okay. So, Kristen, you have been out of school maybe for like 1.5 years or 2 years, right?
Yeah, it's been about 2 years.
Okay, 2 years and some change. And how are you balancing this life that we just previously described, and how has life changed after college?
So much has changed after college, and I think one of the biggest changes is really owning my space and giving myself room to have a creative spirit and do what I want to do, also while doing what I need to do and balancing what I have to do. So those are my three things that I kind of use to describe my lifestyle at that's at the current moment, and that's living in the want to, the need to, and the have to. And I feel like in college, you know, you were just doing, everybody was on that same, like, path. It was like you go to class, you do a little celebrating, you do a little bit studying. Like, it was a nice balance. We had the time and the leisure to be able to balance it all, but not so much in adulthood because we have a lot more responsibilities. So I try to make sure that I'm balancing those three things and I'm giving myself exactly what I need, so that I don't lack in any area. Sometimes we fall short, but it's the try that counts.
Okay, thank you. So how did you decide to move to Dallas after school? And how are you using this opportunity to build the assets for your future?
So, yeah, I actually ended up in Dallas because maybe around my junior year in college, this was a year after I decided that I wasn't going to pharmacy school and I no longer wanted to pursue pharmacy. I was really trying to struggle to figure out exactly what it was that I wanted to do. I knew what it looked like, but I didn't know what to call it. And so I actually thought about this, and I think that it was one of our recruiting days, and UNC Health Science Center came, and they were saying oh, we just created a new pharmacy program. It's not accredited yet. We're waiting to get our accreditation certified, but it's new, and they were inviting students to come and visit. And so while I was looking at visiting the school, like I said, I'd already made up in my mind that I didn't want to go to pharmacy school anymore, but I noticed the program that they were offering that I hadn't quite heard too much about, but in detail, it sounded like something that I really liked, and I think that it kind of put me in the direction that I was going in, and it was a public health program. So I went down to UNT and visited the school, learned more about the program. I actually liked it. The school is actually in Fort Worth, and that's their Health Science Center campus. It was in Fort Worth, and I knew that I did not want to stay in Houston post-graduation. I had stayed in Houston when I was younger, and it just really wasn't something that I wanted to do. So I was like, Fort Worth isn't too far. Most of my line sisters live either between Dallas and Houston, and so I knew that I would have some type of support. My line sisters that live here, they're very successful in their careers, and some of the ones that inspire me the most, I'm inspired by all of my line sisters, but I think the group here, their career paths are similar, and some of them are from my hometown, or we have something really in common that I really am inspired by this group of women here, and especially their professional experience. And so I'm like, okay, I know I have the support, and I'm excited, and I think this would be a great move. And so that was junior year. I think I told a few people, but didn't tell many people. I applied to the program. Once I graduated, I got accepted, and literally within 2 weeks, I went home for 2 weeks, saved up my money from graduation, and I kind of found out a plan. I had been going back and forth to Dallas and Fort Worth to try to figure out the move. Dallas was way too complicated at the time to move, so I chose Fort Worth, and I moved here. I didn't have a job. I just knew I was going to school. I wasn't getting any additional money from school because I have a Hazelwood and it just pays for tuition. And I had enough money to pay my bills for 2 months, and I took a leap of faith, but I was like, God hasn't failed me at this point. So the worst that can happen is that I'm going to have to move back home. And I was willing to take that risk, and I moved to Fort Worth. I loved it. Fast forward, I found a full-time job, and then I ended up having to get another job. And my job actually started being in Dallas, in the city of Dallas. And anybody who knows what that commute is like from Fort Worth to Dallas, when I first got here, people told me that commuting from Fort Worth to Dallas was like commuting from Pearland to Houston. That is a lie, okay? And after months and months of a 2-hour commute, frustrating, I was hitting a plateau in my creative career because I didn't necessarily have the time to do things that I needed to do. And so I was just like, you know what, forget it. I make enough money. And I looked around in Dallas, and I just moved to Dallas, and I'm glad that I made the decision to go ahead and move because I absolutely love it. I love the networking experiences. The cultural experiences here in Dallas is really like very thorough, and I didn't really think that I would get it here, is that everybody has their niche and everybody is doing something different, but everything is so amplified. And even with limited resources, people are creating things that they want to see, especially things for young Black millennials here. And I absolutely love that. And so I definitely think that that has been an asset to everything that I've been trying to do in relation to Unapologetic, in relation to my professional career. The only thing that was missing was the academic piece, because I still ended up having to transfer back to Prairie View for my master's program, in which I'm also glad that I made that decision as well, to go ahead and pursue community development instead of community health, so that I can get those additional resources that that public health program was lacking, like funding. So, yeah.
Okay, Kristen. So honestly, for all my Houston people, she has really made Dallas sound really, really good. So shout out to Dallas. Okay. So, Kristen, you went to school for chemistry, but like many people, your first job out of school is completely different from what you studied. How are you using your knowledge from college to build your new business? And tell us about this business.
Yeah, so actually, going back to me deciding that I didn't want to go to pharmacy school. So I think my biggest turnoff from pharmacy school was that I didn't want to be a salesman, and I was learning a lot about the pharmaceutical industry. We are still in the era of like ACA and learning a lot about our healthcare system. And so pursuing public health kind of gave me that outreach, like really connecting resources to communities, because what I noticed when I was studying my public health program is that we are trying to push ACA on people who have very limited resources to live a daily life. So it's like, you're telling me that I have to pay this X amount for some insurance coverage that may not be, too great. I'll still have to come out of pocket for additional expenses. And then on top of that, if I choose not to do this because I simply can't afford it, you're going to take my money anyway. So that was something I was just like, how can I contribute to this? Like, how can I teach people ways to learn about preventative care, and so we can cut down some of these expenses and we can increase the quality of life in the Black community. And in doing so, I learned a lot about myself, and I learned a lot about my own journey and switching to becoming a vegetarian and not eating meat, and learning how my body operated and natural care. And so what you'll notice is that your body will start to crave more of what makes it feel good. And that kind of led me to my creation of the chemistry of, and which I say is God makes no mistakes, and he's funny, but he absolutely makes no mistakes. He will put you right back to where he desired you to be, but what he's doing is taking you around and letting you pick up what you need to pick up. So make sure, like, when you're picking things up, you're picking up what grows you. You're feeding what grows you, and you're not feeding anything negative or anything that's going to set you back. And so my experience in Dallas, and like I said, learning about the different things that cultures do here and learning about the different opportunities for young Black millennials, it's like I'm steady going around and I'm picking up what makes me feel good, and I'm picking up what makes me feel good. And I end up in this spot where I'm basically a chemist again. And so I always use the slogan, still a chemist. I always been a chemist, because what chemists do is we try until we get it right. It's the big experiment. And so that is how the Chemistry of was born. And so that company focused on natural and herbal healing in the form of beauty, skincare, as well as different herbal treatments and teas and tonics as well. And so I'm so excited to be able to be back in my element, where I get to use my STEM side as well as my creative side. And that's the two components of when I think about Unapologetic. And when we say aligning our passion with our purpose, you create things like that. You create things that you may not even have seen growing up, because you don't have the exposure to know everything that's available. You don't have the exposure to see all that you're even capable of. But as long as you keep picking up what's good for you, it'll come back to you. And so I'm excited for the Chemistry of. I'm excited to be able to share that with everyone else. It's going to be in the form of a subscription box, because we want to teach people about the different herbs and different treatments and different preventative care methods. So we wanted to do it in a subscription box as a way that people get to try different things. You know, they get to learn about different things, and then they see what works for them in a way that we can teach them more, and they can focus on the things that they need specifically in their lives.
I love that. Kristen, you doing the darn thing, girl.
Thank you so much.
So coming back to the part about being natural, and we know that you love all things natural. Are you on any health kicks currently?
So I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm on a health kick. I like to say that it's a lifestyle adjustment. So about a year ago, almost a year coming up, I made the decision to just go ahead and go straight, like, no meat. So a lot of people think, well, if you may not know me, that you may think that it was something that kind of just started out of the blue, but I've always been kind of conscious of what I eat, and I'm a foodie, so I've always tried different things and try to see what I like, and if I like it, I'll eat it. And so after finally doing the Daniel's fast, because I wanted to wait until I can afford to eat on the Daniel's fast and not starve. So after doing the fast, the first time I was living in Fort Worth, it was okay, but you know, it just got kind of boring and redundant with what I knew how to make. And so the second time around I did the Daniel's fast with my church, I was actually here in Dallas. And so people are sharing all these different vegan restaurants and all these different vegetarian restaurants and all of the restaurants that offer vegetarian courses or vegetarian options. And so as a way of, you know, like expanding my palate, I went out and I tried different things. I tried Be Raw and I tried all these different vegetarian restaurants, and I fell in love with some of the options that they were offering. And so once my fast ended, these were restaurants that I started to frequent. Even if I was still eating meat, I just liked the option. So it's like having something good, it tastes good, and it's good for me, so why not? And so I started doing that more. I ended up fasting with a friend for her wedding as a way to provide her with some support on her journey. And then finally, like, I just enjoyed that feeling so much. So that fast was immediately after the Daniel's fast. And so it was basically as if I had been doing it for almost 2 months. And when I say I've never felt something that felt so good. And so I just said, I may as well continue. And so I did. And like I said, I've been able to experience and learn a lot. One of my favorite restaurants to visit here in Dallas is Recipe Oak Cliff. It was founded and created by an amazing Black woman. Her name is Tita. And shout out to Tita. All of the food options are vegan there. But to see somebody like us educating us and pouring back into the community and using it as a way to educate people, that's inspirational. And so I started to go there more and more often. And after I tried different things, you know, I go home and try to cook them and try to learn about them and, you know, Pinterest other options. And after a while, it becomes a natural thing. So like I said, I like to call it a lifestyle adjustment and not too much of a health kick, because being vegan don't necessarily mean you're going to lose weight. For all of the people that see me and say, you still thick, yes, I am, because I still eat. I'm not going to starve. There are carbs that exist in vegan or vegetarian diets. There's fats that exist in the good food. So I still mainly look the same, but I feel awesome.
And I think that's what's most important, right? I know I tried to do, I didn't try. I did veganism about 5 months in the end of 2017. And when I went back home, you know, I'm living in New Jersey. When I went back home, all my friends, they weren't supporting me. They were like, Jasmine, you love chicken. Why aren't you eating chicken? So it's like, okay, fine. And I gave back into, you know, eating some of the chicken. But now I just know that I can eat differently. I don't have to eat meat with every meal. It's important to understand that all you got to do is have a lifestyle adjustment. You know, I think as African Americans, we learn, like, okay, you don't got no bacon with that? You didn't season that with pork? You know, like, I think whatever we grew up with, you know, we continue, but it's okay to change and evolve and to continue to life adjust, as you said, Kristen. So I know, and when you feel better, you do better, and your energy levels are up, and you treat people nicer. You know, people don't understand, like, what they eat really is a direct reflection of how they feel and how you
what
feel.
You put out, yes.
Exactly.
And I always tell people, you have to try stuff. If you're one of those people who don't like to try new food options, it's going to be really, really hard because it gets boring fast. I mean, even for me and trying a lot of stuff, sometimes I do get bored and I have to like switch it up. But for the record, everybody know I still eat crawfish because I'm a Southeast Texas girl and I can't give it up, and it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right.
We all have our vices. We all do.
In honor of crawfish season, I still chow down on some crawfish.
Okay. So what about Soul Sundays? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so Soul Sundays is something that I started as a way to kind of share, the journey that I was on, because I think, actually right after I decided I was going to do it full time, What the Health came out. Right. So that kind of created this uproar with everybody in their diet and them wanting to try something different, in which I totally applaud everybody on. I really hate that so many people got so much negative feedback. But like you said, when you know better, you do better. And even though my experience wasn't a direct response to What the Health, I appreciated the conversation that it started to create in our community. And so even though the documentary wasn't that great, but the message was good, and it started to create conversation, and people wanted to know, how could they do better and how could they change their diet. And so I just started sharing my recipes, and I call it Soul Sunday because I know that most people are looking for that good meal on Sunday. It's like I've been doing all this stuff all week, and I've been eating good, but, I need some nourishment on Sunday. And I wanted to share some really full recipes with people so they can see what the options were, and you can still have that same feeling that you get. And granted, I don't get to post every Sunday, and especially not as much as I used to now that I'm using my kitchen for the chemistry of. So now I do try to just share the process on my Insta stories, and if I get an opportunity, I'll post the recipe on my blog, or I'll just send it to people who ask for it. But it's just an easy way to show people some 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps, because I don't like too many steps, recipes that are still fulfilling in nourishment, as well as the taste and that satisfaction that we're looking for too.
Okay. I love that too. And what I've noticed is that even if you choose to eliminate meat out of your diet, you can still season your food. You can still eat good. You don't have to eat bad just because you're eating healthy. So let's demystify that. I love to demystify things. Right. Let's demystify that. Okay.
Because then you say one of your favorite foods
was
green. One of your favorite foods is greens, right? We still eat collard greens, and we really eat them the same way. I know you told me that you like to put turkey necks in yours, and we do that for the flavor. So we just swap out turkey necks and we add in liquid smoke, and that really gives it that smoky flavor that the turkey neck would give it. But greens still bomb, still season well. Add your onions, just cut back on the salt just a little bit, but it still tastes good, and it's the same thing. And then you also get the nutritional value as well.
Okay. And you just plugged us in there with the liquid smoke. I'm going to have to order that off Amazon.
Liquid smoke, that's how you get that bacon flavor, that smoked flavor that you're trying to get, that you would normally get out of some meats, and normally pork is called liquid smoke.
Okay. Wow. I'm going to have to try that. So, to my next question. If none of you guys know, after this podcast, you will know that Kristen has held one of the highest positions within Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated while she was in undergrad. How did you develop your leadership skills, Kristen? And how did you know when it was time to follow?
Yay. So, honored. It was definitely an honor to be elected to serve as a Southwest Regional Rep, which is the highest, the second highest ranking office in the region. So for me, I didn't really notice that I basically been developing a path to leadership for some time now. I served as student council president in my middle school. I served as class president in high school. And so I think high school may have done it for me. It's like really learning about everything that's available to you and all of the resources, and going to these student council conventions and seeing how people are raising money and using their money to give back and create these different things. So I've always been like an idea person, and I've always had ideas that I wanted to use to reach back. And when I got to college, I made sure that I wanted to make sure that I was still that person. And I did the same thing, and the opportunity called for Delta, and I've always wanted to be a Delta, and the Lord showed up. And freshman year, I had the opportunity to pledge. And most people don't get a chance to do it freshman year, but because I had the credits, I had the opportunity to pledge, and so I did. My next year, I served as chapter president, and I think once I went to my first national convention, I was sold, okay? So you get to see like a sea full of deltas, a sea of red and white, and you get to see what everybody is doing. You get to see everybody in their professional capacity. You get to see everybody in their leadership roles in Delta and beyond, and kind of see like these are the change makers of the world, not just the sorority, but of the world. And I get the privilege of calling them my soror. And once soror see, you know, that you have a niche and that you're willing to serve, they'll start to tap you on the shoulder. So I got my first tap, and we call it voluntold, you know, because it's like you volunteer your services, but really somebody told you needed to do it. So my first tab was actually from the national president. That was to serve on the National Membership Services Committee. I'm so glad that that was my first tab, because it created an experience for me that I truly appreciated. Membership Services is kind of our committee that really nurtures every generation from collegiate on up to 99, 100. And so I love that experience, and I got to see more and more of the sisterhood. And then after that, I decided that I was going to run for regional representative. And by the grace of God, I got to serve alongside one of the most phenomenal leaders that I have ever met in my entire life, my regional director, Pamela Rogers. Very selfless and very inspiring, but by nature, she is a teacher, and she created so many opportunities for me to be able to lead, as well as opportunities for me to follow. And since day one, I've always said that I wanted to be a resilient leader like her, because there's leaders and there's different types of leaders. There's servant leaders. There's leaders who lead from their heart. There's leaders who lead from their mind. But resilient leaders are leaders who are able to respond to any situation with empathy and compassion in the same way that they will respond to themselves, even if it involves them doing it from their own pockets or from their own resources or from their overflow of time. Just to see somebody like that, that was what I needed to continue to, you know, see like, okay, you have a gift, and have somebody say like, you're good at what you do, and you have to own into what you do and continue to pour that out so people can see that. And I'm so glad that she created opportunities for sorors to be able to see my skill set and see what I was good at. And more opportunities came from that. And so now I am more honored to sit on the National Social Action Commission, which, in my opinion, is one of the most prestigious commissions in the organization. But that was an output from her creating an opportunity for me to serve in a way that sorors can see that I had a skill set that the organization could utilize.
Wow, Kristen. And I think that's so important. Like, for any of our older adults that see children that have those leadership potentials, to just give them that opportunity to tell them, hey, you need to do it. You don't give them the option. You go ahead and push them into leadership. And I think that's what happens to most leaders, or most people that develop that trait, that they were just pushed, whether it be they were the oldest of their siblings, or they were just voluntold to do something that they were really good at, or they were just put up against a really hard challenge and they needed to overcome it, and they succeeded. And then they told other people how to do it, and people followed. I think that's some of the methods for leadership. And Kristen, can you tell us what was your favorite program that you put on so that any other of your sorors that may tune in or any other people in Greek organizations so that they can bring some of that wealth back into their organization? Because I don't believe that, we're all a part of Greek organizations, but we can't all work together in some way. So what was your favorite program? How did you get the undergrads excited?
Definitely, definitely. And so this is so funny because on my memories this morning, this was actually the memory. So on this day, and I think it may have been this exact day, 2015, 3 years ago. Wow. On this day, 3 years ago, I actually hosted my collegiate retreat, in which each rep gets an opportunity to host a collegiate retreat during their tenure. And so on this day, 3 years ago, I hosted my collegiate retreat that I had to plan. I didn't know that I was going to have to plan all of this by myself and fund all of this by myself and really find the resources. Of course, with the help of my team, I had an amazing leadership team. My collegiate leadership team was phenomenal. Shout out to all of my state facilitators and everybody who served with me. I had the largest collegiate leadership team in the history of the region because I really started tapping sorors. As I saw that sorors had a gift and it was something that we needed, we just really started tapping them and calling them out hey, we need you, we need you, we need you. And my regional director allowed me to do that because she also understood the importance of creating leadership opportunities for somebody else. And so we hosted the collegiate retreat. It was Crown Crimson. And the underlying mission of that retreat is the exact mission of Unapologetic because I couldn't leave it there. And it's aligning passion with purpose. And we use that message to encourage sorors to bring their gifts to the sisterhood, use their gifts in ways that really help them elevate themselves. So if you are a political science major and the Social Action Commission is needing a collegiate, you need to be the person that steps up. If you are a health science major or if you're in nursing school and med school and the Health and Wellness Committee is needing some representation from collegiates, you need to be the person that steps up. And so what we did was we helped elevate sorors in those capacities, and we helped sorors utilize their gifts to serve the sisterhood. And even on the flip side, we help them, see opportunities that they can use their educational experience to align them to where they were trying to go. And for some sorors, it looked totally different, but we wanted to give them the resources that we felt like they needed to be able to have that. What we know is that most jobs require you to have some type of technical experience, hands-on experience, whether in the form of an internship or research or whatever. And when you are dedicating yourself to so many things in college, because you want to do everything, sometimes it's hard. And when we talk about finances and we talk about time and we talk about all these different things, sometimes it really is hard. And so we really wanted them to say, here's a grand opportunity for you to use your time and for you to gain that experience that you need. And so that's what Crown Crimson did. We also honored historically Black colleges and universities with that initiative as well. We donated money to historically Black colleges and universities. During this retreat, we actually were helped by Texas Southern University as well, as a way to show people these are what our HBCUs are doing. Our luncheon that night was hosted by the Miss Xavier at the time, who was a Delta, and Lord rest her soul. Our speaker was the 17th National President, Mona Bailey. And so we also wanted to show our collegiates that these are the footsteps that you're following. And so being able to have a past national president in our presence who also served as Miss FAMU at a historically Black college and university, it made everything come full circle. And I want to say that was my greatest contribution to the region. I really hope that it impacted sorors in the way that we designed it to. And I think that when I finished office, to be able to see my collegiates go on and go to their internships and go study abroad and do these different things in their field, I felt fulfilled in that moment. And I felt like that we had accomplished our mission. And like I said, being able to have Sarah Bailey there and having her really inspired me because she was also a chemistry major and she was an educator. But she really talked about all of the different things that women can do in the STEM industry and not limiting yourself and using your education to elevate yourself. And now that, you know, she has gone on to Omega at this time this year, like it's full circle. Like we said, everything comes full circle. And so I think that was my greatest contribution. And I'm proud that I was able to even give that gift to the sisterhood as well.
Kristen, girl. And I want all of our undergrads to know that if Kristen can do it, y'all can do it. You know, even if you may not be in the highest leadership position, when you're called to serve, serve. When you're called to lead, lead. When you're called to follow, follow. When you're called to do a community service program, do that. Now, that leads me to my next point. If you're thinking about joining a Greek-lettered organization, what can you tell those people before applying and what it means to truly give back to the community?
If you want to hear more of Kristen's podcast, click on part 2 of Unapologetically Evolving on the Walk by Faith show.
Okay,